Mr. Baucus. Mr. Baucus, no. Mr. Thune, aye.
Does any senator in the chamber wish to vote or change his or her vote? If not, on this vote, the yeas are 47, the nays are 52. Under the previous order requiring 60 votes for the adoption of the amendment, it is not agreed to.
Mr. President.
The Majority Leader.
May we have order?
May we have order for the Majority Leader, please?
Mr. President, as I indicated, the Republican leader and I met prior to the last vote. We understand there's been tremendous progress made. This is something that those of us who have been in the Senate a while brings back a lot of memories. This is the way we did things in the past. It's difficult, but it moves legislation. It's been inconvenient for everyone. Before moving for this consent agreement, the most difficult time is for our staffs. They have worked the last 2 days really as hard as people could work, led by Gary Myrick on my side, David Schoppa on the other side. Other staff has worked very hard, but they have been the exemplary people to help us move it. Here is the consent agreement. I hope everyone will agree with this. I ask consent that the next vote on our sequence be the cloture vote with respect to the substitute amendment number 738. That if cloture is invoked, substitute amendment be agreed to and it be considered original text for the purpose of further amendment. That the remaining amendments which were scheduled for votes under the previous order remain in order, notwithstanding cloture having been invoked. That when the Senate resumes consideration of H.R. 2112 on Tuesday, November 1st, the Senate to proceed to votes on the remaining amendments and that all other provisions of the previous order remain in effect.
Is there objection?
An inquiry, and I will not object. Does that mean that where 60 votes is required under the current order, they'll continue to be required?
All elements of the previous order are in effect.
Is there objection? Then without objection, so ordered. The clerk will report the motion to invoke cloture.
Cloture motion. We, the undersigned senators, in accordance with the provisions of Rule 22 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, hereby move to bring to a close the debate on amendment numbered 738 to H.R. 2112, an act making appropriations for agriculture, rural development, Food and Drug Administration, and related agencies programs for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2012, and for other purposes. Signed by 18 senators.
By unanimous consent, the mandatory quorum call has been waived. The question is, before we proceed, may we have some order in the chamber so that the clerical staff can hear the votes as they are taken? The question is it the sense of the Senate that debate on amendment number 738 offered by the Senator from Nevada, Mr. Reed, to H.R. 2112, the Agriculture, Rural Development, Food and Drug Administration, and Related Agencies Appropriations Act 2012 shall be brought to a close. The yeas and nays are mandatory under the rule. The clerk will call the roll, and I would again urge that there be order in the chamber so that the clerk may hear the roll. The clerk may proceed.
Mr. Akaka. Mr. Alexander. Ms. Ayotte. Mr. Barrasso. Mr. Baucus. Mr. Begich. Mr. Bennett. Mr. Bingaman. Mr. Blumenthal. Mr. Blumenthal. Mr. Blunt. Mr. Bozeman.
Sorry, it's a long...
Mrs. Boxer. Mr. Brown of
Full day.
Mr. Brown of Massachusetts. Mr. Brown of Ohio. Mr. Burr.
Sounds good.
Ms. Cantwell.
Right now, yes. I'm going to call you and come back to how far we have a bunch of amendments that we probably will be able to do by voice.
Okay.
I've got the script. I'll add those amendments agreed to on the bottom.
Off of the list.
Mr. Cardin.
Is that all right?
Mr. Carper, Mr. Casey, Mr. Chambliss, Mr. Coates, Mr. Coburn, Mr. Cochran, Ms. Collins, Mr. Conrad, Mr. Coons. Mr. Corker, Mr. Cornyn.
Kathy, you got a pause. I'll go in as an aye also.
Yes, sir. Mr. Corker, Mr. Cornyn, Mr. Crapo, Mr. DeMint, Mr. Durbin, Mr. Enzi, Mrs. Feinstein, Mr. Franken, Mrs. Gillibrand, Mr. Graham, Mr. Grassley, Mrs. Hagan, Mr. Harkin, Mr. Hatch, Mr. Heller, Mr. Hoven, Mrs. Hutchison, Mr. Inhofe, Mr. Inouye, Mr. Isaacson, Mr. Johans, Mr. Johnson of Wisconsin, Mr. Johnson of South Dakota, Mr. Kerry, Mr. Kirk, Ms. Klobuchar, Mr. Cole, Mr. Kyle, Ms. Landrieu, Mr. Lautenberg, Mr. Leahy, Mr. Lee, Mr. Levin, Mr. Lieberman, Mr. Lugar, Mr. Manchin, Mr. McCain, Mrs. McCaskill, Mr. McConnell, Mr. Menendez, Mr. Merkley, Ms. Mikulski, Mr. Moran, Ms. Murkowski, Mrs. Murray, Mr. Nelson, Nebraska, Mr. Nelson of Florida, Mr. Paul, Mr. Portman, Mr. Pryor,
I don't know yet.
Mr. Reed of Rhode Island, Mr. Reed of Nevada, Mr. Risch, Mr. Roberts, Mr. Rockefeller, Mr. Rubio, Mr. Sanders, Mr. Schumer, Mr. Sessions, Mrs. Shaheen, Mr. Shelby, Ms. Snowe, Ms. Stabenow, Mr. Tester, Mr. Thune, Mr. Toomey, Mr. Udall of Colorado, Mr. Udall of New Mexico, Mr. Vitter, Mr. Warner, Mr. Webb, Mr. Whitehouse, Mr. Wicker, Mr. Wyden. Senators voting in the affirmative: Akaka, Alexander, Ayotte, Barrasso, Bekich, Bennett, Bingaman, Blumenthal, Bozeman, Boxer, Brown in Massachusetts, Brown of Ohio, Burr, Cantwell, Cardin, Carper, Casey, Coates, Cochran, Collins, Conrad, Coons, Durbin, Enzi, Feinstein, Franken, Gillibrand, Graham, Grassley, Hagan, Harkin, Hoven, Hutchison, Inhofe, Inouye, Isaacson, Johans, Johnson of South Dakota, Kerry, Kirk, Klobuchar, Cole, Kyle, Landrieu, Lautenberg, Leahy, Levin, Lieberman, Lugar, Manchin, McCaskill, McConnell, Menendez, Merkley, Mikulski, Murkowski, Murray, Nelson of Nebraska, Nelson of Florida, Portman, Pryor, Reed of Rhode Island, Reed of Nevada, Roberts, Rockefeller, Sanders, Schumer, Shaheen, Shelby, Snowe, Stabenow, Tester, Thune, Udall of Colorado, Udall of New Mexico, Warner, Whitehouse, Wicker, and Wyden. Senators voting in the negative: Chambliss, Coburn, Corker, Cornyn, Crapo, Dement, Hatch, Heller, Johnson of Wisconsin, Lee, McCain, Risch, Rubio, Sessions, Toomey, and Vitter. Mr. Moran, aye. Mr. Baucus? Aye.
On this vote, the yeas are 83 and the nays are 16. 3/5 of the senators duly chosen and sworn having voted in the affirmative, the motion is agreed to. And under the previous order, the substitute amendment is agreed to. The Republican leader.
Madam President, I rise to mourn the passing of a great American and a man who did much to benefit the people of Kentucky as well as Ohio. Carl Henry Lindner, Jr. was Greater Cincinnati's most successful entrepreneur and a self-made man. He passed away this October 17th. He was 92 years old. Carl Lindner was born in Dayton, Ohio in 1919, the son of a dairyman. He quit high school to help out in his father's dairy. That store grew into United Dairy Farmers, a chain of dairy and convenience stores that many northern Kentuckians frequent to this day to buy their famous ice cream. Mr. Lindner made much of his living in the banking and insurance business. His name became famous across northern Kentucky and Ohio and nationwide as the owner of the Cincinnati Reds from 1999 to 2005. Carl also ran an amusement park and his hometown newspaper, the Cincinnati Enquirer. Always the optimist, Carl was famous for carrying with him cards that he would hand out to anyone he met with motivational sayings printed on them. One frequent version of the card would read, "Only in America, gee, am I lucky." Carl spent much of his time working for his community, bringing thousands of high-paying jobs to Cincinnati and northern Kentucky. He's been called a one-man chamber of commerce. He also was renowned for his philanthropic efforts. He gave generously of his time and resources to charities, churches, universities, museums, organizations serving the underprivileged, and even children in Sri Lanka, orphaned by the 2005 tsunami. I had the benefit of knowing Carl for a long time very well. He was an amazing man, and his loss will be deeply felt by many. Elaine and I sent our condolences to his wife, Edith, his sons Carl III, Craig, and Keith, his 12 grandchildren, 5 great-grandchildren, and many other beloved family members and friends. The passing of Carl Lindner is a true loss for the people of northern Kentucky, Ohio, and the nation. I know my Senate colleagues join me in remembering and honoring Carl for his very American success story, his service to his community, and the example he leaves behind for others of a full life well lived. Madam President, the Cincinnati Enquirer published recently an obituary of Carl Lindner. I ask unanimous consent that that article appear in full in the record.
Without objection.
I yield the floor.
Madam President,
The senator from Illinois.
I ask unanimous consent that the following amendments be called up, reported by number, and considered en bloc. Senator Portman, number 859, Senator McCain, number 892, Senator Cantwell, number 893 as modified with the changes that are at the desk, Senator Cochran, number 805 as modified with the changes that are at the desk, Senator Burr, number 890, Senator Inouye, number 918, and Senator Kyle, number 912 as modified.
Without objection, the clerk will report the amendments by number.
The senator from Illinois, Mr. Durbin, for Mr. Portman, proposes amendment numbered 859. For Mr. McCain, proposes amendment numbered 892. For Ms. Cantwell, proposes amendment numbered 893 as modified. For Mr. Cochran, proposes amendment number 805 as modified. For Mr. Burr, proposes amendment number 890. For Mr. Inouye, proposes amendment number 918. For Mr. Kyle, proposes amendment 912 as modified.
Madam President, I believe the Senate is ready to act on these amendments.
Is there further debate? If not, the question is on the amendments en bloc. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The amendments are agreed to en bloc.
Madam President.
The senator from Washington.
Madam President, in that en bloc group of amendments was an important amendment number 893 that was sponsored by my colleagues from the Northwest, obviously myself, Senator Murray, Senator Wyden, Senator Merkley, Senator Boxer, and Senator Feinstein. And we thought it was very important that this amendment passed tonight because scientists are calling it a disease emergency. That is, that the Pacific Northwest wild salmon might be threatened by a virus that has already decimated fish farm salmon from around the world. So we want to see, first of all, important scientific questions answered about the impacts of this virus and the threat that they pose to Pacific Northwest salmon. Second, we want to make sure that there is an aggressive management plan and an effective rapid response plan to deal with the threat of this virus. And third, we want to make sure that we are protecting wild salmon and the important economy that goes with it. I know many people know the Northwest is known for a healthy salmon population, but this salmon population is also an economy for us. It's tens of thousands of jobs and hundreds of millions of dollars as it relates to our economy. So being able to detect this virus and make sure that we are assessing the potential threat to the wild salmon population is something that we want to see happen immediately. This makes sure that the task force, that is a joint task force already in place between NOAA and USDA, works effectively in the next in a very short time period to make sure that we are getting this accurate assessment. As I mentioned, this virus in the farm fish population around the world, in Chile and other places, has decimated salmon. We cannot risk having this impact the Pacific Northwest wild salmon. So we need answers quickly from the scientific community. We need an action plan immediately, and we need to make sure that we are formulating a rapid response to what to do if we do detect that this virus is spreading with the potential impact that we've seen in other areas. So I thank my colleagues for making sure that this amendment is passed tonight. I know that Senator Murkowski had planned earlier to talk about this. I want to thank Senator Hutchison from Texas for helping us move this along in the process. I hope now, as we move this legislation, that we will also get the cooperation from NOAA and Secretary Luchenko and others and those at NIMS to make sure we are responding very rapidly to this very, very serious what people have called the scientific need to get these questions answered as soon as possible. I thank the Chair. I thank the President. I yield the floor.
And I suggest the absence of quorum.
The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka.
The Senate finishing a long series of votes this evening. The Senate voted on more than a dozen amendments to the bill today. Congressional Quarterly writing about one of those amendments, saying that the Senate adopted a measure to reinstate higher limits on federally backed mortgages. Senators Menendez, Isaacson, and Feinstein offered the proposal, which would renew relapsed conforming loan limits on government-backed mortgages through December 2013. While Senator Menendez and other supporters say the higher loans are necessary for expensive real estate markets, critics say that the higher limits allow wealthier homebuyers to secure lower interest rates. But the Senate did go on to agree to the proposal. The vote was 60 to 38. The Senate is in recess next week and will finish consideration of the spending bill when they return the week of October 31st.
Mr. Alexander.
The Associated Press is writing about one of the amendments that the Senate voted on a short time ago. The Senate has rejected a Republican effort to prohibit the U.S. from prosecuting foreign terrorist suspects in civilian courts. The effort was defeated 52 to 47, handing a victory to President Obama. The proposal by Senator Kelly Ayotte of New Hampshire would have prohibited the spending of federal funds to try enemy combatants in federal courts. Defense Secretary Leon Panetta and Attorney General Eric Holder had sent a letter to Senate leaders yesterday, saying the measure would deprive them of a potent weapon against terrorism and increase the risk of terrorists escaping justice. That letter from Defense Secretary Panetta and Attorney General Eric Holder sent on Thursday. In addition to voting on amendments to the fiscal 2012 spending bill, senators today also failed to move forward on two bills, a measure to prevent layoffs of teachers and first responders, and also legislation that would strip a tax withholding requirement for government contractors. Work continued in the Senate today on 3 spending bills combined into one. That includes funding for the Agriculture, Commerce, Justice, Transportation, and Housing departments. The Chamber is expected to finish work on the spending bill after next week's recess, with a vote on October 31st. Earlier today, the Senate approved 2 nominations, voting to appoint Heather Higginbottom as a Deputy Director of the Office of Management and Budget. And the Senate voted 74 to 26 to endorse John Bryson's nomination to head the Commerce Department. Congressional Quarterly writing that President Obama tapped Bryson in June to replace Gary Locke, who is now the U.S. ambassador to China. Bryson was chairman of Edison International, the company that owns California's largest utility.
The Majority Leader.